Today, we are bringing you part 2 of the 12 effective trout flies. Brent has selected these flies for you to get your boxes ready for the spring. Some of the flies are simplistic patterns that newcomers can master easily. All the flies demonstrated are considered to be proven in waters all over the country. The first fly today is the Guide's Choice Nymph, and for the namesake, a very sought-after fly for those working hard on our waters. This soft hackle version of the Hare's Ear Nymph is a must-have for your fly box. Make sure you tie at least a dozen.
Well, folks, here's the first fly in the part 2 of our top 12 trout flies. This fly's got a really good pedigree. The Guide's Choice Nymph, a hare's ear variation, soft hackle hare's ear. We'll go over the materials as we start to tie the fly. I'm going to be using a size 10 curved hook on this one, and tungsten cool beads, a 7/64 thread glory, nice bright bead. The variation of this is the pattern called for a gold bead and red thread to kind of finish it off. You can go that way too, so another option. And they tied it on a straight shank hook. I like tying on these curved hooks. I'm going to come in here with some 8/0 thread, just tan, just to blend with my dubbing. Dress the shank, come around the corner. Then we'll bring in, the tail is some of this hare's mask, just some of the guard hairs trimmed off. You pull that up fur out from underneath. No, don't need all that under fur in there. Tie it forward. And that is the tailing material. If you don't have that, you might want to just sub it out for some hackle, but these masks don't cost much, and there's a lot of really nice, you can use that for a lot of collars on flies and so forth too. I'd recommend getting one. They're quite inexpensive. Okay, then for the rib, I'm going to use some French oval. This is in small gold. They just call for wire, but this got a little more characteristics to it. Looks really nice on the pattern. Tie that in here. That back to my keeper. Now I'll bring in, this is the hare's ear dubbing, the natural hare's ear color. And we'll get a nice taper going on that as we go forward. Nice and thin. It's going to be kind of a robust little fly for rivers and streams. Remember the clingers in the moving water. Okay. Now I'll just bring my small gold French wire nicely ribbed through the front. The original pattern has a wing case on there. You can put a clear wing case on. Let's just go here with a little bit of our Magnum Flash Blue and Copper. I've got some of that just in front of me. That'll work just fine. Take some peacock curl for the thorax. Get a couple turns of that. Leaving a little bit of space at the head. We're not done. I want to get my collar in there. I'll just bring that wing case over the top. Looks good. Nice bright little fly, isn't it? Now the secret sauce, I'm just going to bring in some nice colored thread here now, some wood duck colored thread here, okay? So I'll just do a half hitch on. The tan doesn't really dress it up too much. We'll just trick it out. If you want to put the other red thread on there, whatever colors you like, you can kind of go from there with it, okay? I'll just get this nice wood duck color in there. I want my thread hanging straight down. Then we'll go to our partridge hackle. We'll go to some of these nice little guys off the front. Smaller ones off the side here. That'll work fine. it's a size 10. We can get away with pretty good size hackle. Partridge is pretty pricey, but it's a great material too. I would really suggest, I go through quite a bit of partridge, and one of the more expensive materials, but you just can't duplicate it, and there's so many good places for it for tailing, and soft hackles are really a great way to go. Just come around the front, take 2 turns of the partridge. That'll lay back nice, and it'll swim in there quite well. So I'm just going to get myself a little whip finish on there. And there we go. Guide's Choice Nymph. Great fly. That hackle will really swim in the water, give it some really nice movement. So that's a definitely must have. Make sure you put a little head cement on there and Bob's your uncle. All the best with you on this one. You're going to really do well with it, hanging under an indicator, fishing in your, or fish it high stick it, whatever, right through your holding water. Okay, let's go to the next one.
The next fly is Brent's own creations. He would like to share this productive fly with our viewers. This fly has all the attributes needed to fool stubborn trout. Brent has had some incredible days on the water with this one. Get several of these ready in several colors and sizes to match the hatch.
Well, folks, our next fly in the vise is going to be the V-rib emerger. This fly has worked very, very well for me over the years. I've seen this fly basically in a magazine quite a while ago, and I just I made a few little changes, tricked it out a little bit. Okay, we're going to tie it on a 2487 barbless hook size 12. You go to 14s quite easily with this. I'm tying a little bigger for demo purposes. 8/0 thread on there. We're going to come in here with some small brown vinyl rib for the body. Tie that along the top of the shank. I want the flat side up. This is a V-rib. It's got flat side and also round side, and we want the round when we wrap it. Okay, then we'll come forward. We're going to want to make sure we get a little bit of a taper going here. Front. And I'll just hand over hand this. Oh, see, I got the I got it the wrong way. It was actually tied it, and the flat side was coming up. So what I'm doing now is I'm just reverse wrapping it. So make sure I get the round side up. Make sure they touch. Makes a really cool body. Durable stuff. They don't chew through this at all. There we go. Make sure now it's wrapped the other way, so make sure you got it tied down good. I'll just tip it up a little bit while I work on it. Nice segmentation. It's a great fly. Worked well. I've had some very stubborn trout. I've thrown a lot of flies at them, and this one seems to always get the job done. They like it. Coming in with some UV Pearl ice dub. It's an add-on that I do with a lot of my emergers and dry flies. They see that UV very easily up top. Get a nice, generally I like that kind of a little bit. Problem you can see that quite easily. I'll trim it down a little bit if you don't like it. There, like that. Length looks good. Throw a half hitch in here. I'll bring in some Senyos laser dub, the thorax, and I'll just going to roll that on. There's a couple long fibers in there. I'm not worried about them right now. Matter of fact, there's something else sticking in the way there. Let me go in there again. I picked something off my desk, I think, when I put that back in. There we go. That looks cleaner. Now I'll just roll that sinuous on there for the thorax. Come in here, just bulk that up. That looks good. You really notice that sinuous underneath there. That looks really good. Some elk hair, bleached. Get a little clip of that. Make sure you got the underfur out, as you know. Then we'll drop it head first into my stacker. Tips come out nice and black. That means I got a good stack. You always stack a little bit more than you need because you can take away, but you can't add. That's a nice little wing right there. The top, take a couple softer turns and get a little tougher as you go. Then come over the front, wrap ahead of those butts. Whip finish in here. And this is not a super complicated tie. It's probably maybe a little more intermediate, but you beginners, if you're just starting, make sure you try some of these patterns. The reason I'm bringing these ones to you too, they're really good. They catch fish, and I want your fly boxes looking prepared. Like, make sure you get a dozen or so of each in there, or get some colors, size variations. You don't need 50 different patterns. You just need some real good proven patterns. And make sure that eye looks a little bit crowded. Deal with that here, not at the water. Clean that out. That's good. So there it goes. V-rib emerger, folks, and I just can't say enough. I'm really happy with it, and I know you will be. So thanks for watching, and we'll go on to the next one.
The Prince nymph has been around for many years. Doug Prince created this fly, and it has gained favor of anglers all over the country. The Prince can be tied from size 8 to as small as size 18. It is very effective in moving water as well as still waters.
Well, folks, our next fly on the vise here is an old staple pattern for many anglers over the years, the Prince nymph. I'll start the fly. I'm going to be using a Mustad 7957B wet nymph hook, size 8. This is about as big as you'd want to tie this fly. You can go down to 12s, 14s with it quite easily. Some even go smaller, but I suggest, especially when you're starting out, start with a little larger hooks. It just helps get your proportions right, and just get your tying skills honed down a little bit before you start going into the little stuff. I'm going to put some, you can tie this with a bead head many times. It's got a bead head on it. You can lead the shank if you want to do that. You don't have to put beads on it. That'll give you a nice .020 lead. I'm going to come in here with some 6/0 red thread. I'll dam that in the front. And I'll dam it in the back, just so it doesn't move around on me. There we go. And I'll come around just a little bit around that corner. I'm going to put a ball of thread right there at the end. Then we'll come in with some goose biots. This is brown for the tail. One on each side. Goose biots are curved. So you want them curved outward. Kind of a little hard to see them, but get them separated, and then you'll see how they want to curve out. Now the gap length is about where you want to be with the tail. Get one on that side. Find the other one down here on my table. Oh, there it is. together. I had to take that one apart. Two stuck together. Tie it ahead of the ball, and it splits the tail nicely for you there. You take these butts and tie them right down over the top of that lid. That'll help everything be a little more secure. Then we'll bring in some Uni-French oval in small and silver for the rib. Tie that all the way down over the top. There we go. Then we'll bring some of our peacock curl, another one of these peacock curl flies. A lot of these materials I'm showing you, you can do a lot of flies with, different flies with the same materials too. There's a lot of crossovers here, so no use having to bulk up on too much stuff right out of the gate. And then we'll start with that. Got a good thread base. I'll just tie these in by the tips. I got about 4 or 5 strands. There we go. Take my thread to the front. Peacock curl forward. You can buy synthetic peacock, this and that. Trouble is it doesn't turn bronze. This is such a nice material when it's wet. You just look at it and you'll see what I'm talking about. It just turns into a bronze color that fish like that hue. That's why a lot of flies got copper ribbing and so forth. That I'm just going to reverse wrap the silver forward. That'll help hold all that peacock curl together. Just a few good turns. You don't need to overdo it. Cut that off. Get it all wound down good. Got a nice body going there. The tails are split. A little bit of red thread at the back. It's kind of a little bit of an attractor too. That looks good. There. Now we're going to need some of a hackle for the collar here. Get some brown kind of webby hackle here at the base. Take a couple turns, 3 turns. Depends how many barbs you got on there. You might have super saddles. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to fold that back and over the top, and I'm just going to tie it down so it's basically on the sides and the bottom. See, there's nothing really on the top. That gives you good legs. But you can see now when you're tying with bigger flies, you can work on getting your proportions right. And this fly here will catch fish. Don't believe me, it will work just fine. Okay, and all we need to add now is some white goose biots. Get them all split off again here. Just want to strip them off apart. You can cut them, but if you pull them apart, you got a little more to work with. There we go. And they have a curve too, so you want to curve them down. Get it right on top of the shank, a bit of an angle. Get it. Make sure you got it tied back here, the back. Take the other one here. We want to curve down again. Bit of an angle. I just set it right on top of the other one. Measure it out where I want them. Okay. Now we'll take those butts and pull them back. I'm going to trim them close now. As I come off the head, behind the head here, I got my thumbnail kind of guiding the way. So don't go back too far. I want to get right so they didn't fold them right. I want to fold them over themselves a little bit so then there we go. See that little bit of a fold going on there? Just work with that. Just try to, it's not behaving there. I should have left them a little bit longer is what I should have done until I got my first turn or two in there. Once I start getting my wraps in behind the head, it'll fill in nicely. I know I got a nice neat head. But try to work on your getting it right on the bigger flies, okay? And then keep working down in size as you get better. But this fly, don't discourage. It's not too big. It'll catch fish. It'll drift in really nice. And Prince nymph, created by Doug Prince years ago, is still one of the go-to bugs in every fly angler's box. I'm going to grab myself a little bit of head cement here. I'll just use some UV resin on that. Do all your flies with either head cement or resin or something. Gives a nice shiny glow, but most importantly, it keeps it nice and secure. We want these flies to be holding together. You don't want to be getting in a fish and then you break one off or the fly falls apart. That's even worse. But see the hackles coming out to about the bend of the hook there? That looks good. I'm quite happy with that. I've been tying a well and I'm pretty happy with that, and I'd be very willing to fish that anywhere for any fish. Okay, let's go on to the next one.
The stimulator was developed by one of the best fly tyers and anglers of our time, Randall Kaufman. This is one of the chosen flies to imitate stonefly and salmonfly. Many unforgetful days on the water by thousands of anglers can pay tribute to this great pattern. Brent ties this one on a size 4 continuous bin dry fly hook.
Well, our next fly, folks, the stimulator is one of my favorite flies to tie. I just love the way this fly looks and all the components. It's a great fly created by Randall Kaufman. He's come up with a lot of good patterns, and this is definitely one of the best he's done. We're going to get some fluorescent fire orange thread on there, size 6/0. I'm going to take a little pinch of this gray elk hair for the tail. Get that in my stacker. Make sure you don't tie this fly when you're stacking hair when everybody's sleeping. They early in the morning, Sunday morning, they don't like it. Okay, we're got a nice little short little tail on there. I'm going to just pinch off the side of both thumb and fingers so nothing rolls away on me, so I can get a good grip of it there. It's tied down. I'm just going to take these butts and just follow them up, soft turns. Just kind of cut those butts off right there. Keep that body nice and flat. Keep everything leveled out. Then I'll come right backwards to my tie-in point right about there. And you see the hair wants to flare on you. Just give it a soft turn. That'll gather it up. And that puts a nice little, tightens that tail right up so it doesn't flare. Okay. Then I'll come in with some silver wire here. This is just a fine wire for reinforcement. The hackle. I like to reinforce my flies wherever possible. Come here at the back. I'm going to come in with some of this really nice sparkle rusty amber. This is translucent, kind of a dubbing here from Legis. Ken Legis does some really nice dubbings here. That's a Antron base. It'll float very well. For you stonefly fishermen, and if you haven't fished stoneflies, you got to get to it, because that's the highlight of dry fly fishing for most anglers. There's guys that'll cancel wedding plans just so they can go, don't want to miss the stonefly hatch. So it's pretty serious. So we're going to come forward here with a rusty amber body. You got a little bit of that red thread showing through there, the fluorescent fire orange. I'm okay with that. Yep, that looks just fine. See the nice fibers, how it looks when it gets a little wet? That's why I always like Antron-based dubbings. Okay, now we need some undersized hackle for the front here, for the body. So we're going to get some gray grizzly, and they're going to be undersized, so catch that in front. We're going to leave about a quarter for the thorax on this fly. All right, take my thread there. Now we're just going to get our gray back over the body here. Starting to look like the color of a golden stone, salmon flies. Definitely a hatch, you gotta do it. That's what fishing's all about right there, I'll tell you. Everybody has their favorite. Some are nymph fishermen, streamer fishermen, so forth, but dry flies is what it's all about in the long run. And those of you who like tying flies, just wrap whatever you like. Just wrap your heart's content. Hope a few of these little videos help you out a little bit. But it's kind of nice we got the platform here to share with some of you that want to learn, and hope we can help you. I really enjoyed doing schools over the years and meeting people and helping them. And I had some guys help me when I needed it. And Walt Lawson, for one of my mentors, was a great guy, and he helped me with schools too. We had full day schools do our winter classes. We did 100 flies over the winter. Did 10 over 10 days every Sundays. We had a great time. Now we're going to get another big clump of the deer hair. Clean that out. And that's our wing. Or this is actually elk hair. I'm sorry, I said deer hair. It's elk. And the elk hair won't splay as much as the deer will actually flare more. And that's okay. Now we're going to get these butts cut off at the front. Got some unruly hair going on here right now. Don't get too panicked. I'm going to get my thread down here on the thorax. Wrap all them butts down good. So we pretty much just see the... Now when it's flared, now I want to come in here, take a soft turn, and then a tight turn. That kind of gathers it up. There's one here that didn't cooperate, but that's a pretty good wing profile for the bottom for a stone. And that comes to the end of the tail, okay? Then I'll grab a grizzly hackle. Tie that here, the back of the thorax. Put it back in my keeper. Wants to pull out on me, so here's a good trick. What you should do is just cut along the stem. See the little notch there? So that'll get your thread in there. It'll be way more secure. Okay, it won't pull out on you like that. Okay, go back. Thorax, we want a nice bright thorax. Here again, I'm going to go with some fluorescent fire orange. It's kind of a common color for a lot of the stimulators at the front. If you want a great book for patterns, Randall Kaufman's put out a book with over 1,000 flies in it. I know he's put a bunch of mine in there. Really happy he did. I was quite honored that he got some heavy hitters in that book. But it's just so nice to share with everybody, and kind of miss having those trade shows now. We used to do those, and they're a lot of fun to meet up with guys you don't see very often. And a lot of times you get a fly fishing club in your neighborhood. Make sure you join up. Don't be intimidated. Everybody's there to help. I'm going to take this grizzly, and I'm just going to give it about 5 turns. The front, tie that off. Come in the front here, I'm just going to kind of get the hackle between my fingers there so nothing gets pinched down when I do my head. There we go. And the whip finish. There it is. Stimulator. What a great fly. Grab some head cement for that. That soaks right into the fibers really good. So there's a great pattern. Make sure you get some of these off. If you can ever work a stonefly hatch into your travels, make sure you go for it. Thanks for watching.
The Parachute Adams would make the top 12 on any stream angler's list. It has been such a dependable pattern tied in various sizes and colors to match the hatch. Brent loves fishing the parachute-style flies and this one in particular. Get your boxes well supplied with this fly.
Well, everyone, we've got one of the best for last here. The Parachute Adams is a great dry fly. I'm going to be using a standard size 12 dry fly hook here. Yamagatsu is one of my favorites. And just to shank the hook here, just kind of keep everything from sliding around. It's always a good idea. The tailing material is going to be some Coxyleon tailing fibers here. It's really nice. It's got a lot of sheen to it, and nice stiff fibers make a great tailing material. Tie that in the length of the body, shank length. Come in behind. Oh, I must come right around the corner a little bit. A bit of a trick here. I'll show you. Pull that out. It's good to demonstrate that right now. See, it's coming right. I was just ahead of that, and that pull that tail around the corner. You want it coming straight off the back. So we'll come in there, measure it again. Make sure you can tie it in ahead of itself a little bit. And then when I come around the back and over the top, it locks it in right on top. Right on top of the shank, comes perfectly off the back. Coming forward to 1/3 back from the eye. This is going to be some Rainey's parachute posts. Probably the easiest thing to use if you like tearing parachutes. This is one of the easiest posts to use. You can use Antron, Parapost fibers. There's all kinds of different materials used. This balances the fly out really nice right there. There we go. And here I'm just going to take a 1/2 inch. Then I'll bring in, this is fine and dry dubbing in Adams Gray. You want that dubbed very fine. You can also put a couple turns of pale yellow in the back there too if you want to go to female Adams, which is another variation which you might want to consider. It's a good one as well. Bring my dry fly dubbing all the way up, nice and thin. We want to get it going here, and then we'll get a bit of a taper cooking. Come around the front. The thorax, you want to make sure it's a little bit heavier in here. I'm missing a little bit up front. I'm going to make sure you get a nice taper. Look at it at the bottom, it's a little bit weak on the front there. Just going to dub a little bit on there by hand. And behind the eye. I'm not going to finish this fly at the eye. I'm going to finish it all off the post. Okay, now I got the profile I want. That works. Then I'm going to bring in some of this. You can use a grizzly and a brown, or you can use this is a Cree. That's what really the original was, Cree. And then I'll bring that in. nicely marked. Get my stem exposed. Come around the post. Still around the post. That's just all I'm tied onto. I'm not coming off the bottom. Make sure it's in there. No, it's not. So we're going to go do that trick again with the hackle. Now when I catch that in, off the back side here, it should stay. Yes, it will. Okay, now I'm just going to tip this to the side. I'm bringing in some of my Solarez. This is thin. Got a nice, I put a needle in the end here. There's a little attachment. Come in. Just a little more jelly. This is not the thin bone dry. This is kind of a more of a jelly, thin gel. Now I'm going to come around here with wrap that parachute hackle around that Solarez. Of course, my light didn't want to cooperate when I got the camera on, but I cook that on there, and that should hold it. Pretty easy way to do a parachute. Tying them off is a bit of a challenge. Always has been for me. But there's a fly now. I can cut my thread off with my scissor there. It's done. So you don't have any whip finishes or whatever. That's a really nice profile going on there. The parachute, it always lands flat. It sits well into the water. You can get these in different colors. Posts, I think, in yellows and whatever. But one of my favorite dry flies, no doubt about it, and everybody else as well. So Parachute Adams, you can't go wrong. Thanks for tuning in. I think if we have time, I might throw in a bonus fly for you too.
The marabou muddler has been a long-time favorite streamer fly for most anglers. It has been fished coast to coast on many species with excellent results. It has also been used in lakes as well as rivers and streams. Brent will tie the cone head version for us today.
Well, here we are with our final fly on the top 12. This is a marabou muddler. Let's go over the materials as we need the fly as we go along here. I'm going to be using a size 4. This is a Gamakatsu T10 salmon hook on up by salmon hook. I got a nice little gold bead on the front of that, a cone. That's a really easy way of doing muddler. I'm going to be using some 6/0 black thread. That cone head is just enough to kind of level this pattern out so it rides nice and straight. Otherwise it kind of rides a little bit up on the front because of the deer here. Okay, now we'll come in with some red hackle for the tail. And you don't have to buy a complete saddle or anything like that. They actually have some of these packs you can just buy, like Chinese strung saddle or something like that for tailing fibers. Comes in there nice. Maybe we'll just put a little more on there, just make it look a little better. And we tie that tail in the length of the gap, the gape. There's a lot to it. Tie those butts down. Then we'll come in. This is some just some medium gold metallic chenille. We'll tie that along the body. I don't want to come right to the front. I'm going to leave a little space there for the muddler head. Size 4. This is a nice size. You can throw this with a 6-weight. Don't need a big rod to get the job done here. There we go. Now we just bring in the white marabou for the tail. The white marabou muddler is one of the most sought after. I like to find some of these fibers with a little bit of breathability. I don't want nothing too stiff like that. Let me grab some. There's a nice one right there. It's got a lot of fluffy fibers in it. I'm going to cut this stem off in the middle here. That doesn't swim. And I don't want it to be just a stick. I want a little movement. So I'm going to come here to the end of the tail with the marabou. I'll tie that just ahead of the chenille, and it comes to the tips come to the end of the tail. Pretty good. We'll bring in a little more of our peacock curl. The marabou muddler was created by Don Gapin many years back in 1939, and then the marabou muddler was changed, I believe, by Bailey's shop, Dan Bailey's store in Montana, and it's been a really good pattern. It's still being used a lot out there today. So I'm going to bring that to you. It's a pretty easy fly to tie, and it works quite well. We fish this pattern all the time. Works in rivers and lakes. We found it quite useful in lakes. Now I'm going to just get some a collar of deer hair. So I'm going to just get some fine deer hair. It doesn't flare too much. Got nice tips on it. That's the hair I'm going to use on this fly. It's quite fine. The coarser the hair, the more it flares. Get that in my stacker. Make sure we get a good stack on it. Then you get to see the nice black tips coming out of there. That means it's stacked properly. Measure those tips just where as far as I want them back. And I'm just going to take two soft loops, follow it around. See where my thread pressure goes? The hair just follows it right around. So all you need to do then is make sure you don't cut anything off you don't want. It's a really nice, easy way to do a muddler head, and also gets a little bit of weight. It's attractive. Pretty simple. This fly here, anyone can tie it. I'll just come in here, get a whip finish in behind the bead, and I'll make sure I'll put drop a little cement in behind the bead as well. But such an effective fly. There it is, the marabou muddler. That's our final one. We appreciate you tuning in here for the top 12. I hope I picked flies that you like to use, but I know they're all very sought after, and some of the mainstays, I would say, in the trout world. So all the best to you in your tying and fly fishing journeys, and we'll hope to catch up to you here again real soon.
Thanks to Brent for bringing us this great video for beginner to advanced fly tiers and anglers. We hope you find the information useful, and we look forward to sharing more content like this in the future. It is our goal to help you learn and master the sport of fly fishing. All our pro team is dedicated in sharing their knowledge with you. Make sure to check our website for over 2 decades of TV shows, videos, and pro tips. We would like to have you join us as a member for more additional benefits. Your comments and suggestions are always welcome.